Welcome to the Speakeasy and our new sit-down interview series called Whiskey Made Me Say It. We will interview the most interesting and humorous golfers, whiskey makers, and enthusiasts and enjoy their perspective on life. Sit back and enjoy Whiskey Made Me Say It.
Welcome, Fuel Nation. This is Brian Bailey here, bringing you another installment inside of the Speakeasy. Whiskey Made Me Say It. We have a special guest today. Just for practical purposes, I've known Chad for a while. I'm a friend of Chad's. I'm actually in his book, which is probably the most important part of the book. We'll talk about that later. Literally the most important part of the book. We'll really focus in on there as we get moving. But I am a friend of Chad Metcalf's. Great dude. Met him a few years back, but just so everybody knows, there is a friendship here. And yes, I'm helping him sell a book, but it's a really good book, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we jump too much into that, Chad, welcome and give us a little insight on who you are, and we'll get started.
Well, I guess you already know my story.
I know your story, but the fans know.
So let's see. I grew up in Texas, played sports, started playing golf. I was actually visiting my great-grandparents in West Texas, and like they lived out on a farm. I mean, they farmed cotton and, who knows what else. But out in one of his barns, he had, I don't know, it might have been like one of the first sets of golf clubs ever made. But it was like the old,
nice persimmon
like
set.
First generation. Oh yeah. Nice persimmon woods. Like the leather grips on the Hogan irons. And I was like, oh, Papa, what are these?
That's
like,
good
I'd never,
stuff.
like maybe I'd seen golf before, but like, I mean, I've probably seen a golf, like driven past golf courses, but I never really paid much attention to it. But I was sitting there bored, nothing to do. I'm like, oh, Papa, what are these? He's like, can I use them? He's like, oh yeah, there's some balls over there. Just like, golf balls from probably like 1925 or something, right?
You're actually hitting feathers.
Probably. So I'm out there hitting them, and we were out there for a few days, and when I left, he's like, hey, just go ahead and take those clubs with you. So I was like, all right.
That's
so
cool.
There was a field next to my house, and I'd hit balls out there. Eventually, my dad bought me an actual set of golf clubs. Like I got a set of irons. I still played I actually still have the golf clubs. When I was playing, I'd take out the persimmon head driver and go out and like play rounds with it. Those things are actually pretty good, although it only goes like, if I step on it, I could hit it like 265 with that driver, but it's like, 60, 70 yards shorter than my other driver.
Yeah, you got to appreciate Jack back in the day averaging 300 with those things.
Oh, that's
pretty impressive.
Well, especially with those golf balls, right?
Yeah, no. If nobody, this dates me, but if you've never played baladas, you've never lived. Baladas that were kind of the 70s and the 80s, which is a thin rubber coat over literally wound rubber bands. And
those still had them in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but they were much harder to find. But if you haven't truly played baladas, you've never really experienced golf where you could literally zip it back from the back of the green to the front. Like,
yeah,
those were fun, but they were expensive because you would cut them, or we'd say put nipples in them,
smiley face in it,
smiley faces, and then the rubber band would break, and there'd be like this bump in the middle of it. But
so I mean, I'd hit. Got some better clubs, and they were better than those. But practicing this field by my house, and then I realized that, hey, there's a golf course like 3 miles from me, and if I cut through the woods on my bike, it's only like a mile. So I'd ride through, rode over there. I homeschooled at the time, so like I wasn't on the high school or high school golf team, middle school golf team. But all those kids would go play for free. I'm like, hey, look, I'm not on the team, but I play golf. Can I just wash golf carts and y'all let me play? And they're like, yeah, sure. Knock yourself out. So,
man.
Yeah, go for it. So, but I was, internet was, there was internet was, kind of starting then.
Yeah.
But we lived in a rural area. I mean, we actually lived, 15 miles from where I am now, but the internet was slow, right? You go to load a web page, it'd take 25 minutes, right? So
young kids don't know anymore. They have no clue.
So I bought one of Tiger Woods' book. I might still have it somewhere, but it's like Tiger Woods on the golf swing. So that's was my first introduction of how I learned golf, was reading a Tiger Woods book. And I've been playing golf for maybe like a year or two when Tiger won the Masters.
Yeah.
So kind of did that for a while. Then, worked at a golf course, found a decent golf teacher, and just, got better. I mean, I like practiced a lot. And then my goal was
Yeah.
to go walk on at Texas State, UT, one of those schools. And then
Gotcha.
9/11 happened, and I didn't think golf was that important anymore. So
Yeah, I
I
got
actually,
you.
like, right after 9/11, I was working at the golf course. Like, we were pulling carts out, and they're like, "Hey, come in here and look at this." And like, we sat there and watched it live. So I went to the recruiting office like the next day.
Yeah.
Um, Went in there, went to the Navy office, and I was like, I don't really know much about any of this stuff, but I heard like SEALs are pretty good. And he's
They're
like,
okay.
"Oh yeah, I've worked." I was like, "Oh yeah, I've worked with SEALs," and the dude was, to say it nice, he was not fit. And I'm like, if this guy's worked with SEALs, it's like, they can't be that good. So I went next door to the Marine
Yeah,
Corps
the desk.
office. Yeah, yeah, and I was like, all right, these guys look pretty serious. So I signed up for the Marine Corps, did all that. Long story short, I ended up getting disqualified, like for a titanium plate in my arm. They're like, so from all branches, and they're like, well, if you want to reapply, like, you could try in 18 to 24 months. So kind of like
Yeah.
did the like community college deal for a while, worked like a bunch of jobs, kind of did my research on, okay, what would I have to do to get a waiver? What branch would I want to go in? And then I was helping a guy like run a power washing company, and fell asleep at the wheel, hit an 18-wheeler head on, got life flighted. So it's kind of like, all right, I need to do something with my life. So went and got my waiver, did the SEAL Challenge program, went to Buds, made it through, did a bunch of deployments, all that. And then after 12 years, I got out. I think we met right before I got out,
Yeah, that is true.
because I was getting
Snowy
ready to
day
go
on a
play.
in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah, I was like, man, this aim point thing looks pretty legit. Like, what is this? I'm like, who around here teaches this?
I was like the one.
You're the only one. I'm like, all right, it's a 4-hour drive. Screw it. I'm going to learn this.
Yeah,
So,
by default, I win.
yeah. So you won. So yeah, did the PGA, tried to make it on tour for a few years, went to Latin Q school, Canadian Q school a few times, Monday qualifiers, mini tour events. The last time I went to Q school, I think I missed by 4.
Yeah.
And that was the third time I ran out of money.
God.
So it was like, whenever we had to go to the food bank to get food, I was like, all right, this is like starting to affect my family. So I'm going to figure out how to make some money.
Yeah.
So
I believe it. I love that idea.
yeah. So, and again, like, when I was playing, like, I did, public speaking stuff, like, Brett McCabe, he was like, "Hey, Chad, do you want to do some public speaking stuff?" And I was like, absolutely not. He's like,
Hey, yeah.
I was like, I thought you needed to make money for tournaments. I was like, yeah, I do. He's like, how's like 3,000 an hour sound? I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in. So he should have held out and said no.
I'm like, wait, what do I talk about? He's like, let's just talk about the stuff we talk. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, people want to hear about that? They're like, I guess so. So did that, did some contracting, was a 5-star Uber driver. So like, I left no stone unturned.
Yeah.
But as and probably anybody listening to this who's gone down that route, like, making it on tour is a time and money game, right? You got to have enough money to give yourself enough chances. And then you got to be in that environment long enough to where you really like get used to it, right?
Yeah, people are very spoiled. They see, the Phil Mickelsons, the Tiger Woods, the best of the best that, play X amount of events a year and fly private, and they're looking at the 1% of the 1%. They don't see the guys that are grinding on the mini tours trying to make it, kind of
that's
like just trying to survive.
Oh, dude, I played an Adams event in Brownwood, Texas. Like a month later, he set the scoring record on the web.com tour, like a BMW. And then like 6 months later, I saw him, like, he was playing the Adams tour again. So it's like, it's crazy.
The Corn Ferry Tour right now, if you look at their scoring averages, they blow the PGA Tour out of the water. Their scoring average is so low, so crazy. It's just you want to talk about meritocracy. Golf is the ultimate. You pay to get in. If you don't make the cut, you make no money. If you barely make the cut, you hope to get your money back. And then if you end up in the top part, you really are rewarded. But yeah, people do not understand the grind.
Oh yeah, even if you're on the big tour.
I was a pro golfer. Sounds sexy, but every pro golfer is just like, you just don't know.
Oh yeah, all my buddies that gotten out of the Navy or whatever, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm like playing professional golf." They're like, "Oh, must be nice." I'm like, "Bro, you have no idea. This is the most stressful thing I have ever done."
North Africa was easy.
100%.
That was so easy.
Oh, that was so easy.
But yeah, I think the people's understanding of what it takes, and then take a tour coach. God forbid, if you're out there and you're aspiring, listening to this, and you want to be a tour coach, think of them making no money as a touring professional, and then them are the ones that are paying you. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're coaching a major champion, somebody in the top 20.
Yeah.
You're coaching professional golfers. That is your marketing budget to pay for the recreational golfers to pay you for lessons, right?
That's
like
what it is.
You're not making money on that. But anyway, after that, I probably filled out like 100 job applications, went on like 40 interviews, couldn't get a job, right? And it was, I'd spent my whole life in the military, so I understood that language. Right. I didn't understand the business language at that time. So I didn't know how to like convey what I was good at, or even know like how my skills translated to the business world.
I can kill you with my phone.
Yeah. You're like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. I'm good at figuring stuff out. Like I'm good at executing on things.
Put it in a really bad situation and say, figure your way out. Okay.
Yeah. I'm your man there. But, so I found this like business school. Applied there and applied at San Antonio PD. Like my neighbor was a police officer there, and his buddy was the recruiter. So freaking linked up with him, and I was like, all right, whichever one takes me first, that's where I'm going.
That's where I'm going.
That was my. I was like, all right, whichever one it is, like I'm going. I don't have time to sit around. So like, all right, yeah, we'll take you. But the next academy doesn't. This is like into August, beginning of September of 2018. He's like, yeah, we can get you in, but our next academy doesn't start until January. So I'm like, okay. Business school calls me like, hey, yeah, we'd like to have you. But we actually started this one 2 weeks ago. So you'd have to wait a year for the next one.
2 weeks.
I'm like, oh, shit. And that's like, so I got the CEO on the phone of the business school. And I was like, hey, look, I know y'all started 2 weeks ago, but just give me a chance. Like I'll outwork everyone there.
Yeah.
I'll catch up.
Yeah.
And he's like, nobody's ever asked me this before. He's like, I just want to see if you can do it. So he's like, all right, I'll let you in. So he did. And
if you needed a problem solved, I'll solve your problem. There it was.
Yeah. So I did. I went out in there, outworked everybody, and ended up valedictorian out of the freaking MBA class. So
awesome.
And then off of that, came out with like 20 offers, turned them all down, and went with a startup with one of my business school teachers. Just stumbled across this opportunity, and we were like killing it. And then COVID came and just wrecked our business. Then I jumped on another startup and was helping them out, and just, they were all right. I was just super bored there. And then decided, all right, let me just, figure something out, do my own thing. Like Christie's real estate was doing pretty well. So kind of helped her with marketing stuff on that. And then started writing a book about, like going through all the stuff that I went through from like, the SEAL teams, the golf, the business world. And what I've learned is like the same principles to like reach success. They're the same across the board. So the same way that SEALs are trained, it's the same way you get good at golf. It's the same way you get good at business. And then I just had a lot of time like reflecting on it. And I started writing like blog articles on it. And it really just gave me like kind of clarity on like a system that people could replicate.
I'll go figure. Navy's writing a book.
Come on. Well, yeah, that too. But no, I had two other book ideas. I just don't think anybody would buy them. The first one, it was because we always like joke like, oh, another SEAL book, and it's like,
Yeah.
I wrote a book, and they're like, oh, what kind of war stories are you telling? I'm like, none,
Like
but it's like, wait, what? But yeah, I had two book ideas. One was seals with wood.
seals with wood. Nice.
Be a picture of on the cover would be like guys holding a log, like doing log PT. And then the introduction is all about like how hard buds is and making it through. And the rest of it is just about, shellac and lacquer and stuff like that. Just different ways you can seal wood.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't see that one flying off the shelves.
But I think I should write it. Maybe I should just pay somebody to write it and make it like,
Chat
I don't
GPT.
know. Yeah, make it like 200,000 words, and then
Yeah.
I'll send it to like the Pentagon for approval. So some officer has to sit there and read that thing line by line.
Petty officer first class is just flipping this book with a highlighter. Poor guy. He is not a Chad Metcalf fan.
No.
No, I think so. Yeah, we're going to talk about your book here in a second. If you guys can see this, the Young Athlete's Ultimate Guide to Mental Tough. That's a better version of it. We'll talk about that. But before we do, this is called Whiskey Made Me Say It. So we're partaking in a libation, adult libation. So if you're under 21, have a Gatorade, have a water. If you're over 21, I asked Chad what is his, if he had a bourbon of choice. He told me Mitchers was one he had on hand. I didn't know if he had the bourbon or the rye, and I'm a rye guy, so I went ahead and got the Mitchers single barrel rye. And if you do like rye, this is a high quality straight rye. It's lovely, lovely. Get the spice hug.
I
At the
think
end.
that's the one I have.
Cool. Yeah, they have a rye and they have a bourbon.
Are they both green?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know which one I have then.
the bourbon would be sweet if you're getting that peppery finish. That would be your rye. So I just wanted to throw that out. So yes, as you noticed, Chad kind of talked about his military career. He was a Navy SEAL, played mini tour pro golf, and we're gonna dive in the book in 1 second. But I got to give my favorite story when he was trying out for the Latin American tour. The best. This is literally what it looks like to play mini tour golf. Now, how he reacted to the situation was probably a little different than most players would have. But as he describes this scene, this is the excitement and the luxury of playing mini golf or a mini tour golf, trying to make it to the tour. So, Chad, can you tell me about qualifying for the Latin American tour in a practice round?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that story.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you that one, but that's actually not my craziest golf story.
All right, now you have two stories to tell.
All right. So there I was. Let's see, Buenos Aires, Argentina. So get in there. I get to my hotel, and I'm sitting in the lobby, waiting for my cab driver to get there to like drive me to the course to go play a practice round. And this, freaking dude comes in like from California, Asian dude from California. Like we hit it. I'm like, he's got a golf bag. And I'm like, hey bro, probably like a stupid question, but are you here for Q school? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh cool. Like I'm about to go play a practice round. If you want to share a cab. He's like, oh yeah, I'm down. Let me go drop my stuff off.
Yeah.
So, cool dude. Like we played every practice round together, hung out, but we're playing. And so before, when I got out, like I got sponsored by Nike and went to the oven, got fitted, all this stuff. So, in my set, I had like 2 hybrid and then I went to 4-iron. So the 2 hybrid went like 260 and the 4-iron went like 220.
Yeah.
So like got this, gap in there. So depending on the course you're playing, like you get like a 235 range. And I really wasn't good enough at the time to like dial back a 2 hybrid and try to, take 20, 30 yards off it. So before I left, I'm like, hey, can y'all make me like a 3 hybrid, something like that? Like I need something that goes like 235. They're like, all right, yeah, we got you. So they send it to me. I get it like literally the day before I got on the plane. This thing comes in the mail. So get out there. We get to the 9th hole, freaking pipe a drive. It's a par 5. And I'm like 235 out. And I'm like, oh, heck yeah. I didn't hit it on the range because the range is like freaking 80 yards long over there. You're like, irons, wedges only. I'm like, what?
Putters only on the driving range.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, cool. So there's people on the green. So I'm letting the green clear, and these two wild dogs come out of the woods, and they're like barking at me and growling at me. So I do what any normal person would do, and I bark at them and growl at them, and they take off and run back in the woods. So I don't think anything of it. The green clears, and I get over the ball. And as I'm like taking it back, the dude I'm playing with in his like California accent, he's like, "Hey, bro, look out." And I'm like, I look up, and there's a dog like full speed charge on me, like lunges at me to bite me. And I like sidestep him and just clip him right in the nose with that 3 hybrid. And he like freaking whelps and rolls over like 4 times. The other dog stops, looks at that dog, looks at me, tucks his tail, and takes off running.
He's like, alpha dog.
Yeah. So the dude I'm playing with is like, holy shit, like that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I said, these dogs, out of everybody they could attack, they attack the one Navy SEAL in this country and get wrecked.
That's when you go, well, technically, I might not be the only SEAL in the country, but
I might not be on this golf course. So the dude from Nike texted me, and he's like, "Hey, bro, how's that 3 hybrid working out for you?" I'm like, "It's a lifesaver, man." He's like, "Oh, glad to hear." I'm like, "No, like literally saved my life." Okay. I tell him this story, and he's like, "What?" Next time I go to Nike, they're all like, "Dude, we heard about you like smoking this dog." Like,
of all,
that was crazy.
In all the land, you chose the wrong one, puppy. All right, that's
all right. So the craziest story. All right, so my last deployment, I took over as a platoon chief, and we were doing we were training the Turkish SEALs. So we were like staying on their base during the week in Turkey, and then we go across the border, and we'd spend the weekends in Istanbul at Taksim Square. Right, so we're staying there, and we were there for like a month. So I think it was the 3rd weekend there. We're all like kind of getting, we've already like seen everything. We've gone to like Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia and like the underwater like cisterns. Like we've seen everything. So we're like looking around, and there's like, let's see, there was like 3, me and 2 other guys that played golf in our platoon. And like we were like in Germany, we were going and playing golf like a couple times a week. Yeah. Like there's like a decent base golf course. So like I'm looking on my iPhone, I'm like, "Hey guys, it looks like there's a golf course, and it's only, like 5 miles away."
Yeah.
Now, if you're ever in another country and you don't really speak the language, like if you're used to traveling, you can get around and use Google Translate. Like I'm pretty good with it, but you should always use like the hotel concierge, right? Yeah, and we were like, and I already knew this, but I was like, screw it. Like, let's just go play golf. Like, how hard can it be? Like, we'll just rent some clubs, play golf. So we just go outside and like hail a cab. Dude does not speak English at all. And I'm like, "Hey, we want to go here." He's like, "Oh, no problem." So I'm like tracking it on my phone, and we come up to this, like, it's all like barbed wire, concertina wire. We roll into the base, and these dudes like draw down on us. I didn't know it was a base. It was like, it looked like, is this the entrance to the golf course on the map? And he's like, dudes draw down on us with galils. And we're like, okay, all right, this must not be it. like, let's box around. So we go around this thing like 20 minutes, come back around and like, oh yeah, maybe we can turn in here. So we turn in, and it's like a checkpoint. We're like, that's weird. And he's like, "Oh no, we're like, a golf course." And he's like, like they're talking, and he's like, "Oh, military." I'm like, "Oh, we're military." And he's like, "Oh, well, like we were working with the Turkish military, but not these people." And they had no idea where they are, and they just let us on the base. So we're like driving around, and it's like base housing for this base. And it was like an old British base, like from freaking like whenever they had Turkey. Right. So we're like driving around in there, and we're like, all right, this is definitely not it. So we go down, and we come down to the next entrance, and we go in there, and we finally find somebody who's like speaks English. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, guys, there's it shows up on the maps, but there's no golf course here." He's like, "When the British had this base, there was a golf course, but there hadn't been a golf course here for like 15 years. And we're like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "But there's actually a golf course if you go like, kind of da. And he's like talking to the other guy, and he's like, I'm like, okay, how far is it? My friend, not far. I'm like, how much is it going to cost? oh, not much, not much. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Fun. Actually need a price.
and we're like, all right, screw it. And the thing is, like, I'm the senior dude, right? Like, I'm like in charge of all these guys here. So we start driving. We're out of Istanbul. We're like headed towards Syria. And I'm like, in the thing, I'm like, all right, I got a pocket knife. I'm like, am I about to have to like stab this guy and like commandeer the vehicle? These are the thoughts going through my head. Like, is this dude trying to sell us to ISIS? It's like, what's even going on? And we just like pull in this like nice little town. It's like a resort town. It looked like Aspen, Colorado in the summer. And I'm like, this is pretty nice. The dude hops the curb, is driving his like beater cab car on the cart path on the golf course. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you can do that. He's like, oh, and he's like broken. He's like, oh, my country, I do what I want. I'm like, all right.
All right.
Like golf carts are like chasing us, trying to get us off the cart path. We finally like pull up and we're like, all right, how much? He's like, 1,000 euro. I'm like, what? No.
No, not an option.
So now typically what happens here, it's like a shakedown. If you're American, they're like, oh, we're going to charge you 1,000 euro. If you don't play, we'll call it my freaking brother who's a cop, and then they're going to come arrest you, and then you're going to pay. So like we negotiate him, we pay him like, I don't know, 300 to 500 euro.
Yeah.
Like, and we're like, whatever, like, it's fine. Like, just go. Like, it's dumb. So we go in there, we rent clubs, we play around. At one point we get lost, but in between two holes, and we end up in what looks like a bombed out Call of Duty map. And we're like, what the heck is going on? There's like feral dogs running around and stuff. And we're like, all right, this is not the way. We get back on the course. We finish our round. And we go in there, and the head pro, like, he speaks perfect English. I'm like, hey, could you call us a cab to go to Taxim Square? He's like, oh yeah, no problem. I'm like, how much is it going to cost? He's like, oh, 20 euro. I'm like, fuck.
Mother.
So anyway, we get in the cab. It's a nice car. Like, we get in there and we come into the city, and we pull up to this stoplight, and I'm sitting in the front seat. I've got my window down because it's air conditioned. A nice car, but its air conditioner isn't very good. Yeah. So I've got the window down, and my two buddies are in the back seat, and there's like, sit here is the curb, and there's like a little like kind of fence, like, like the little like 3-bar pipe fence. And there's a little girl there sitting there with like a flute playing it, like begging for money. So I she's sitting over there. So I kind of like toss some money to her, and she looks at it. She looks at me, and she gets this like demon possessed look in her eyes. She hops the fence in like a second and jumps in the window and is trying to bite me.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, all my training has not prepared me for this moment. I'm like sitting here like this, just like, oh my God. Like, I'm just like back, and she's like right here. The cab driver, like, dude, he didn't skip a beat. He floors it, grabs a newspaper, and starts whacking her in the head with it. Like, freaking peels out like Dukes of Hazzard style. She like goes out of the car, freaking rolls like 4 times, hops off, and takes off running. And I was just like, what the heck? He goes, my friend, it is okay. She is Syrian. And I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? We get to our hotel, and my buddy gets out of the car, and he goes, bro, you almost became a zombie.
That's right. It's okay. She's Syrian.
What?
The beauty of international travel.
So that's my craziest golf story.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't tip her enough?
I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
500 euros of that guy earlier. What is this? It's a 2 euro coin? What is this?
Yeah, what is this?
He's like, we've seen your picture around town. Here's a sucker. What?
Yeah, pretty much.
No, trust me. International travel. Americans are very lazy on the haggling system. We're used to having a price and paying it.
Yeah.
You go anywhere else, and they're like, it's optional. What do you? It's very much that. All right. So let's talk about. We'll flip over here to your book. You sent it to me. I read the first half and I listened to the second half on audiobook. So you do have an audiobook version. I'm an audiobook guy, so I love that. But the really cool part is my son is starting to play golf. He's 15, made the high school team last year, played a little bit, made it again this year, and he's kind of number 2 or 3 on the team. But I think, in the beginning, it's learning techniques, it's learning skills that you can go play, and then at some point, we've got to learn that there's more to the game than just this ability to hit a golf ball. So your book came at the perfect time for him, and he's not a big reader. He killed it in about a day and a half. He's journaling now. He's taking notes. It's very cool what he's done with the book. So what was your inspiration for writing the book? First off, that wasn't, your typical Navy SEAL story book coming out. And then we'll kind of dive into kind of what was your inspiration with the book?
Well, I mean, just kind of my own journey through it. I'm very much of the opinion, if you can find somebody who's an expert in the field, you're an idiot if you don't go at least hear what they have to say, right? Like, I'll lose you. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, during it, like, I worked with all like the best coaches, read all the sports psychology books, and I would say, I don't know, 90% plus. I mean, they're nonsense, right?
There's a lot of nonsense out there.
Right. A lot of them are, hey, if you just believe you can do it and you get your breath work and you visualize it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying those things can't help. They definitely can. But if you haven't built your skills first, they're not going to work at all. Like, if you've built your skills and you're really good, then those other things will make you 3 to 5% better.
Yeah.
Right. But it's about like how you put your work in, the mindset you have to put your work in. So kind of myself going through it and then coaching my kids. And then, I got out of the Navy so I could be a dad and, see my kids grow up. So I've coached like all their sports teams. And what I've noticed is like the way I think, most people don't think that way. Right. And you see it like kids get on the mound and they think there's something wrong with them because they're nervous.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, of course you care. You're going to be nervous. Like, just focus on what you're doing. Like, what you do in practice. Like, let's just do that. If you don't do it, then we just got to train it more.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, as you take, for me, like, I don't think you ever like fear, pressure, these things don't go away. Yeah. Right. You have to learn how to function through them. Like myself, I'm terrified of heights. But I never let it stop me from fast roping or jumping out of planes. I just freaking did it. And when I jump out of the plane, I'd be like, God, please open, please open. All right, parachute's open. All right, don't break your leg.
Please hit the ground. No, please.
All right, I'm on the ground. All right, now you can go to work. But, it's like, even there, I'm like, okay, like I'm confident, like I'm going to war and do all that. But I go to the first tee of a tournament and I'm like, oh my gosh, like freaking don't hit it out of bounds.
Oh my God.
Don't hit it in the woods. Right. And now I'm like, you know what? If you have that thought, just freaking get a 7-iron out of your bag, hit it down the middle of the fairway, hit it up there and freaking make a par. Right. Yep. And you're like, oh, okay. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of my motivation behind it is, to help my kids, other kids. And I mean, honestly, like the book, the principles apply to anything you're going to do. Like one of my buddies, he manages a sales team and he read my book. He's like, bro, this is not a book for like just kids. He's like, I'm using this, for my sales team. I'm like, yeah, 100%, bro.
Yeah. No, I agree. To me, it was a very practical and logical. And a lot of the stuff, the funny part is I incorporate, I've been coaching now for too many years, but a lot of the pieces I was doing chunks here and there. So you actually, like I said, I've been coaching golf for 30 years now. You've actually realign some of my thought processes in the way that I'm actually going to teach in the future as well. But I thought it was just a perfect practical book, taking a player and saying, here's, if you want to be good, it is more than just skills are important, but there's other components to it. It's how are you going to build the skills? How are you going to recognize the skills? How are you going to assess the skills? Yeah. As a golf coach, this is what we're doing every day of our lives. As me, as a terrible whiskey drinker now, as a newbie whiskey drinker, same thing. I'm trying to build a palate. I'm trying to understand what's happening. Can I interpret the whiskey? Do I understand what's happening? So those concepts are like I said, as I read the book, I was like, a lot of checks in my head going, doing that. Oh, I could be doing a much better job at that. And things like that. So to me, the practicality of the book was just really easy to read, really easy to, like I said, listen to. But just like I said, just one nugget after another. I used the Kindle in the beginning. It is highlighted like a son of a gun. So again, just those facts coming back. But and then how you refer back to you became a Navy SEAL and you had never been in the ocean to swim. Like, what is that? Like, how does a person that's never been in the ocean to swim say, okay, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL? What is that? What is that mentality? And then kind of being able to do that, what did you have to do that? And then, like I said, you've simply just put it down in simple text. So anybody can go, oh, there's the roadmap.
Yeah. It's essentially the roadmap for, and again, whenever I went and did it, like, I didn't necessarily know this was the roadmap. This is just like what I've done.
Yeah.
And it works. Like a skinny kid from nowhere, Texas, went and did like arguably like one of the hardest things in the world. I'd say like making it on the PGA Tour may be harder, but maybe not. I don't know. It's like a different kind of hard.
But it's hard.
It's a different hard, right? But it starts with, like before your self-assessment, right? So I say, like in the book, it's a 5-step system, right? You got to assess where you're at. That's kind of your first step. But even before that, like, you've got to know why you want to do, like, why do you want to accomplish what you want to accomplish in the first place?
Yeah.
And you have to like truly want it, right? If you're just doing it because if you're playing golf, since we're on golf, because your dad wants you to play golf, like, it's going to be hard to like stay motivated whenever you're hitting those like challenges, setbacks, failures. Right. So like, that's your motivation, right? I mean, you also need discipline. And I define discipline as like going out and putting in the work on the days when you don't feel like doing it.
Yep.
Because there's going to be those days too.
There's going to be more of those, you think?
A lot of those days. So, that was really it. Like, start with why you want it. Like, assess where you're at versus like your skills, your mindset, all these things. Like, where are you at today versus not the people you're playing with right now, but like, where do you eventually want to be? Yep. Like, what skills do those people have? And then you got to figure out a plan to like make up that delta.
Yep.
Right. And that's like, okay, I got to get a good coach. Well, how do you know if you have a good coach? Right? Have they coached? Have they taken somebody to where you want to be? Have they been there? Like, do they know what they're talking about?
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a big part of it. I throw out kind of different training methods for how you do that. And when you're in training, you need the training mindset. Right. And I think too often we jump into this like mindset of like, oh, I'm going to win right now. Oh, I'm not winning. I'm playing golf. Like, oh, how come I don't shoot 65 every day? Well, when you're building your skills, your focus should be on skill development.
Yep.
Right. And that should be your primary thing. So you should be pushing out of your comfort zone. You should be taking risks, and you honestly shouldn't even care about the outcome at all. Yep. What's funny about that is when you do that, you actually probably win more than you should. Right. It's just funny how that works. Now, once you've built your skills and you're like, well, and first you got to identify like, what are those skills? So like for golf, I can tell you what they are.
Yeah.
Right. The first important skill is second shot proximity to the hole. Right. So depending on what distance off of stats, it's how close are you after your second shot. And then that goes back to off the tee. You need to be able to hit it in the fairway, and you need to have 3 different clubs that are 25 yards apart. Yep. Right. Because of your 50-yard rough penalty. Right. So you're going to be the same proximity to the hole from 100 in the rough as 150 in the fairway. So when you start understanding these things, and you help me kind of understand some of these things,
that is
but that's how like Kevin engineered his training program, right? And his other thing is like, you have to be good with 20 yards around the green. You need to be able to get the ball inside 5 feet. And then you need to be able to good at putting inside 15 feet. If you can do those things, you can play on the PGA Tour.
Got a chance.
You got a chance. Now, once you have those skills, you need the competition mindset.
Yeah.
And that's the switch. So if you stay that now, this is a mindset of I'm going to play the percentages. So when I hit it in the woods, and it's going to happen.
Yes.
Instead of trying to hit it under a tree, over a tree, and through a gap that's this big. Now, when you do it, it's awesome and you make birdie. But when you don't, you make triple.
Yeah.
And the problem problem is you only pull it off about 5 to 10% of the time. Like 10% if you're like really good.
Yeah. So if you're a betting,
Average,
those are really bad odds.
it's bad odds. And one day you're like, hey, if you're like, have me read something. I'm like, oh, if I just hit it in the fairway to 100 yards out, it's like 2.2 shots to the hole. So it's like, man, I'm going to at worst make 5. If I can't get it in the hole from the middle of the fairway 100 yards out in 2.2 shots, like we got other problems.
I shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't be here. So it's like just that right there of making good decisions. Like, what is a shot I can pull off 90% of the time? If you make those decisions and you've built your skills, you just give yourself more chances to win over the course of your career.
Yep.
So if you look at how Tiger Woods chips versus how Phil Mickelson chips.
Yep.
If Phil chipped like Tiger, I bet he would have won more over his career.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Phil's a funny dude, so everyone thinks he's the best chipper on earth. Yeah. But when you got to hit the backward shot out of a bunker, Phil's your man. Like the spectacular Phil, that's Phil's persona. That's what he is. But just day-to-day chipping, the day-to-day in and out, he's very average. His whole career, he was a very average chipper. He wasn't great. But on the highlight on SportsCenter, hitting it up over the Porta-John and, it's spectacular. So that's where I think you go back to your assessments. That's a narrative. Phil's the best chipper on tour. No, that's a narrative. That's what the stories are people are telling you. But when you go dig into the data and more so those assessments, I understand what my skills are. And again, inside of golf, every technical piece has multiple skill sets that you have to be good at. So to define, I need to be a better chipper, it's just not like I can just be a better chipper. Now it's chipping from different distances, different lie conditions. Everything's different. So you've got to have multiple skill sets and multiple ways to do it. And you have to assess and understand and know, kind of going back to, I know this shot I can hit 60, 70% of the time. It might not be the perfect shot, but it's going to put me in a range where I can save par, or I can make the miracle shot that I hit 1 out of 10. When I do it, I'll get on SportsCenter. But when I don't, it's the reason I'm leaving after Friday's round, right? I missed the cut.
100%.
So
talking about it.
Yeah. So what I really enjoyed, like through all of it, the assessment part, because I'm really big on assessments. Like we've got to assess. Like I have a data science company for golf. And a big component of that is what you do inside of tournaments and understand that. But you got to say, if they're performing at where I wish to be, you got to run assessments. They're gifts. Assessments are gifts. They give you insight on where you can get better. And most people see assessments as punishment, or I don't want to know, what is that? The flamingo sticking his head in the sand. I don't want to see that I'm bad over here. Assessments are your friend. So kind of as I read through the assessment, man, I'm like fist pumping my way through it. I'm like, hell yeah. That made perfect sense to me. But again, I think, just to me, if you have a young athlete that is looking now, that is kind of finding their groove and saying, I really want to go all in on this sport. I'm willing. I think this book is a must grab off the shelf or the Kindle or audiobook wise. And like I said, it's very easily read from my 15-year-old son plowed right through it. And, 50-year-old dad plowed right through it too at a little bit slower rate. Cause I'm old, but the concepts inside the book, like I said, if you're a kid playing sports, if you're an adult coach like me, or like you said, if you're in business, there are pieces that you can take from this that'll help your team achieve kind of that next level of success. And I appreciate the fact that you spent the time to write that. And kind of a nuts and bolts question: how long did it take you to do the audiobook?
Man, it took me 100 hours to figure out how to do it. And it took me 2 days to record it.
I was about to say, because it's not easy. I was listening into oh God, what's the other Navy SEAL guy that writes books? He has this podcast.
Oh, Jocko.
Doc. No, he writes
Jack Carr or who?
Yeah, Jack Carr. And he brought audiobook guys in, and they were talking about how hard it was to do audiobooks. And to hear behind the scenes of the audiobook guys going, and the one guy goes, yeah, I read like half the Bible, and then they wrote me that there was like some whining noise in the background, and they had to scratch it all. So he goes, I spent 16 days in a booth, and it all got erased. And just tell
dude.
kind of stories.
Yeah. No, like I soundproofed my office. Like, I built, sound panels, freaking. I mean, like you got to do a lot of stuff. Like it's very involved. I mean, I was just gonna hire somebody to do it, and I've got YouTube and social media and all that. But it's like, dude, it's got to be your voice. I'm like, okay, well, I'll record the intro. I'll figure out how to do it. I'll record the introduction. If it sucks, then tell me and I'll hire someone. He's like, fair.
That's fair.
So I started I was probably halfway through the book when he told me that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll start practicing.
Yeah.
So I started just recording solo podcast, like some of my blog articles, just as practice, and I'd upload them. He's like, all right, bro, your audio quality is terrible. So I just got a little bit better each time. And after I'd done 5 of them, okay, I got to get this microphone. I got to use this software. I've got to soundproof my room. I've got sound curtains. I've got to sit in a quiet chair. There's a whole lot of stuff you got to do.
And then hope the kids don't go flying, beating on stuff.
Yeah.
But no, that's fair. But no, like I said, I really enjoyed the book. And like I said, if you got a young athlete looking at playing sports, I highly recommend it. So show your book one more time. Find it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can type in Young Athlete's Ultimate Guide to Mental Toughness or just Chad Metcalf. Either of them will show up.
Way up there on book sales there? Weren't you cornering the market category?
Yeah, let's see. Let me check. Here we go. We got a screen share on here.
Yeah, you should be able to do it. There you go.
There we go. You got it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're #1 bestseller in sports science.
Sweet.
Right
I didn't know, a #1 best-selling author.
Yeah, let's see. I'm down here. I keep bouncing around 1 to 4 in children's sports coaching, and then I've been moving around in sports psychology. So let's get up to #1 in sports psychology. That'd be good.
That would be good. Yeah, sports psychology. That's a fun group. There's some really, really smart dudes, and then there's some really others.
Yeah.
Goes back to reading your book. Some of them are really good, and some of them you're like, Yeah. But no, I appreciate your time. Make sure that everyone goes out there and grabs the book, especially you got kids, parents, grandparents, kids playing sports. Holiday season's coming up. Buy it now while they're in stock. They might be gone by Christmas. Who knows? Now I know it's probably printed. I don't know. Do you have? Is it
Amazon prints them?
Then never mind.
But we'll have the first part of our children's series coming out. So that one will be ready for Christmas. So that'll be kind of same concepts taught through a novel for more like the 7 to 12-year-old kids.
Awesome. And I think you have another project that might be sneaking out here in the coming weeks. So you want to talk on that real quick?
Yeah. So I have another book my wife and I have been working on for past year or so. This one's title, I think it's going to be Teen Confidence Unlocked. So a lot of the same kind of principles, but just really, about, taking responsibility, for where you're at, so it's the same thing on building confidence in life. Like if you want to be more confident, what skills do you need to do that? And then how do you go out there and develop those? So a lot of the same concepts, but just kind of more generally applicable for, and readable for, a kid that isn't an athlete. So if I hand it to a teen, this book right here would definitely work for them. But if I hand it to them, well, I'm not an athlete, it's not for me. So
makes sense. That's perfect. So Chad Metcalf, the multiple book author, in the coming days. So thank you, Chad, for your time. Thank everybody for giving us a listen. Chad, where can they find you online, blog posts and all that you said earlier?
Yes. So, YouTube, you can search Chad Metcalf, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. My website is mentaltoughnessandconfidence.com. I send out emails every week with, different mental toughness and confidence type stuff. And also, if you're on my email list, I'll be sending out whenever my books launch and building early reviewers. So if you want to get an early ebook copy for free, jump on my email list.
There you go. Doesn't get any better than that. So thank you, Chad, for your time, and thank you, everybody, for listening. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
This has been a Fuel production.